Our guest, a true original Star Wars fan, saw the films in theaters and now shares their incredible poster collection with us. They've brought iconic posters from one of the greatest movie franchises ever, including an original Star Wars one-sheet poster.
It says down here, one-sheet style A, which is why we call it the Star Wars one-sheet style A.
And an Empire Strikes Back poster. They're also showcasing a rare variant of a popular poster.
Return of the Jedi down here. This is one of the two standard poster styles from Return of the Jedi.
When these posters with their iconic styles go up for auction, they expect to fetch.
At auction, for these four posters in this condition, which they're still in wonderful shape, between $2,000 and $3,000 at auction.
Holy cow. Wow. That's really impressive.
Serving in the Virginia Army National Guard, this guest purchased this wristwatch from a sergeant major.
Virginia Army National Guard, and I had a sergeant major who presented me with an opportunity to buy several Rolexes. They were all older. He was into
It is a Rolex model 1680, the first Rolex Oyster Perpetual Submariner to feature a date. The serial number dates the watch to around 1974. Most of the watch's components are original except for the hands, bezel, and crown, which are gold and from a later period. The word Submariner on the watch is written in red, indicating the early stages of this model's production. The dial is a Mark IV, and the bezel insert is a Mark III.
The insert, which is what's inside the gold bezel, is called a Mark III.
Okay.
So those two things correspond perfectly with the 1974 production date.
Initially manufactured as a stainless steel Rolex Submariner, this piece has undergone some conversions, placing its worth at...
This would probably trade somewhere between $15,000 to $17,000.
Okay.
Guest purchased this painting at an estate sale about 15 years ago.
And I walked in, and this was on the wall next to the stairs, and I thought, yes, I have to have that.
This is a 19th century rendering of an early campus created with pastel, charcoal, and sand on paper. It is an art pastel of Dartmouth College. This piece does not bear a signature or date from the artist. However, by observing the colors, which are quite unusual for this type of art, one can appreciate the artist's ingenuity and brilliance in style. The condition of the piece is perfect, and given its quality, the painting would sell at auction for...
You've got an $8,000 to $12,000 estimate on this. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece.
We are presented with a great piece of art, which this guest acquired from a friend. The piece is a stencil by a street artist called Palo Bugini. Bugini is an Italian contemporary artist whose work is characterized by using dynamic media.
He was an Italian born in Florence in 1933.
This stencil is a template for a design Bugini had done, and we can see the different colors of paint he had used for the work on this piece. This stencil is duly signed by Bugini. Crafted by one of the most famous contemporary artists, this is a beautiful stencil that is valued at...
And I think conservatively it would be about $1,000 to $1,500.
A beautiful watch such as this must be a treasure for its owner. It's a Rolex Moonphase watch.
Well, I inherited it from my grandfather. He had worn it when I was a little child.
The glittering piece is made of stainless steel. It's a self-winding watch with the phase of the moon downward. It has a programmed calendar displaying the days and dates of the week. The Rolex crown logo is at its back, and unlike other Rolex watches, its serial number is at the bottom. It's such a rare piece, and one of the 1,000 pieces which were produced for 3 years between the years 1950 to 1953. How much do you think this unique watch is worth now?
Well, I thought maybe it might be worth a couple $100, maybe $300 at the most.
Well, at auction, it's worth nothing less than $35,000 to $40,000.
That's a big surprise.
This item is a family heirloom that has been in the guest's family for generations. It is a bear figurine carved from walnut wood and used as a smoking stand. Often referred to as Black Forest carving, it features 3 little bear figures on the stand, and a large bear carving forms its support. Black Forest carvings like this one originated from Brienz, Switzerland,
They were very well established. In 1884, they actually started the Breen School of Wood Carving.
Dating back to circa the early to mid-19th century. The large bear's head can be lifted, and on the inside is where the residues of ashes go. However, there are some noticeable signs of wear on the piece, like the broken hinge and the ashtray section that have had some replacements. This carving is so well done and very well preserved, at auction, it would accrue a value of...
We feel like that a good insurance value on this would be $5,000.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, thank you.
After removing her husband's baseball cards from the attic 1 month before a tornado hit their home and destroying everything, this woman was over the moon when she heard their value. The baseball cards she brought in were of 3 well-known players by the name of Jackie Robinson, Ted Williams, and Mickey Mantle. All 3 cards were valued based on their condition.
And ultimately, the advanced collectors, they're going to collect cards like this where they're assigned a numerical grade on a scale of 1 to 10 primarily.
The cumulative value for the 3 was $34,000 to $48,000.
You're kidding.
Good thing she took those cards before that tornado hit. This ring was rumored to be a poison ring that shoots poison darts at the enemies of the person wearing it. However, the appraiser on the show debunked this, stating that it was indeed a ring designed to appear in the form of a poison ring, but it wasn't capable of shooting poison. The ring was purchased by the guest grandmother in San Francisco. It was an 18-karat gold and diamond ring designed with a carved animal at the center. It was made during the Renaissance revival period, which started around 1890. And lasted till the early 1900s.
It's sort of a reaction to industrialization. It's a return to an older aesthetic when things were simpler.
The ring's value was between $5,000 to $7,000.
Oh, really? Oh, that's great. Yeah. It's not for sale.
Ever heard of a coffee glass? The answer is most likely yes. What about a coffee glass holder? This piece was identified as a coffee glass holder by the appraiser. It was inherited by the guest and her husband from her husband's aunt who collected glassware. The piece was called Ottoman Zarf and was made with 18-karat gold in Istanbul during the period of the Ottoman Empire.
So quite clearly, for a coffee cup, it's exceptionally beautiful and handsomely crafted.
Zarfs were used to protect the hands from burning due to the hotness of coffee glasses. The guest Zarf received a value of $3,000 to $5,000.
Wow. I'm really surprised.
Another interesting gem to look at is this old hymnal book. It's a collection of sacred hymns produced by the LDS Church.
My father's dad's mother was religious, and she evidently had this in her stuff, so it's basically been in the basement.
LDS stands for Latter-day Saints. They are one of the earliest churches in the United States, established in 1830. This LDS hymn book is one of the earliest hymnals. It's called the Bellow Falls. It's one of the few early hymn books to have musical notations and words. It's a rare piece, and one of the few to be found around this century. The appraiser estimated it to be worth $40,000 to $50,000 at auction.
Oh, gosh, really?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Today's episode is quite informative as we are presented with what sailors in previous times used to navigate the seas. One of such items is an astrolabe from 1545, which was obtained from a shipwreck from 1554.
Simply, it tells you how far north or south you are on the ocean.
Astrolabes were used to determine latitude by sailors in the 1500s. Another of such items used by sailors is of the old chronometer.
Longitude was a much more difficult problem, but it requires a timepiece that was accurate within 2 seconds over a voyage that could have lasted months and even years.
Chronometers were used to measure longitude, and this chronometer was sold by Negus of New York about 1875. The value of a working chronometer was priceless, as determining longitude was a much more difficult problem back then. These are priceless items that detail the growth of sea travel and exploration and would individually be auctioned at.
Chronometers such as this appear frequently at auction. You can expect to pay between $2,000 and $3,000.
John, thanks so much.
You're quite welcome.
The guest came across these gems 12 years ago at a coral shop. As of when he acquired it, it had a label on it saying,
Certainly made for Queen Victoria in mourning for Prince Albert, and I wanted to believe that.
It's called Chan El Enamel, which means literally a raised field. Here's what the appraiser has to say.
Crowns have given rise to the idea that this is a piece of royal mourning jewellery.
The crystals on them are raw rock crystals famous in Scotland at the time. It's very possible that they were mourning jewels for Prince Albert, but for someone of lesser stature. They are dated 1861, which is perfect for the style and work of the jewel. As to the price of this piece, it's valued at
£3,000.
Here is a special sports jacket belonging to Johnny Unitas, the quarterback of a championship Baltimore Colts team. Johnny Unitas was an American pro football player, and this jacket was worn by him when his team clinched the championship title in overtime against the New York Giants in 1958. The iconic and special jacket has the patch showing the championship-winning tag. For such a rare old jacket in good shape, it's estimated to be valued at $40,000 to $60,000 at auction.
And it's going to stay in the family.
We've all imagined our favorite game being brought to real life. Well, today's piece is not exactly the same, as it's just a carving of a part of a game. The carving is a representation of the tower in the Mystery Tower of the Game of Life. What is quite unique about this carving is that it is done from a single piece of wood. Carved by a man called Theodore Strollo over a 4-year period, this work is truly an intriguing piece.
Not that I'm aware of. This is the only thing I know that he did. And when he finished it in 1938,
this work is so unique that it was exhibited at the International Exposition in San Francisco and at the World's Fair in New York City as part of Ripley's Oddities.
Truly wanted this to be exhibited because it was 4 years of his life.
On the base of the piece is Theo's signature as well as 1938, the year the piece was completed. This piece is an example of true dedication and fine craftsmanship, and with its history and allure, it would be worth.
Being in the auction business, we're thinking somewhere, let's say $5,000.
This is a fine and iconic baseball from the World Series in 1919. The guest got it as a gift from his mother's friend and brought it in for appraisal. The baseball was used when the Cincinnati Reds played the Chicago White Sox. The baseball is an original piece signed by the 26-man team of the Cincinnati Reds. It has on it a signature of the team's manager, Pat Morin, and that of the team owners, August Herman. It also has the signature of Ed Roush and Jack Daubert. This is a great piece to possess, and at auction, it could value at...
I would put an auction estimate of between $45,000 and $50,000.
Phew. That's a little more than I thought. Glad I brought some excitement to you, because you brought some excitement to me. My wife almost sold it for $200.
Well, I'm glad she didn't.
Looking like a piece done during the Egyptian revival, these items are a fine work of pottery. The pieces are a tray with base made by Leon Volkmar.
His father was also a potter. His name was Charles Volkmar, and Charles studied in France.
The tray, typical of Volkmar's work, features rich, complex glazes with deep, lustrous finishes.
Leon would work on glazes and the concept of glazes.
While the base is adorned with intricate mythical creatures. Both pieces carry Volkmar's signatures and thus show their authenticity, and highlights the heavy influence of the Art Nouveau and arts and crafts movement. These pieces are a harmonious blend of artistic beauty, characterized with intricate designs, and would be valued at...
As an auction estimate, I would easily put $1,000 to $2,000 on it.
Oh my goodness.
This watch comes signed by a maker from Kettering. It's called a pair-cased verges because they are verge movements and have a pair of cases. They are also called turnip cases. They were made traditionally popular in agriculture. As to its worth at auction, it's currently worth
£5 in the 70s, and now that's 250, 300. So they've improved.
That's what I was wondering.
We have a collection of Kennedy and Johnson signed photos. John Kennedy was a former president of the United States, and Johnson was his vice president, who took over when Kennedy was assassinated. The guest, Cecil Stoughton, was a White House photographer.
I was in Dallas during the
horrible assassination.
And the pictures he took have great memories attached to them. This was taken when Lyndon Johnson was taking his oath of office on a plane after Kennedy's assassination. This is Kennedy's family photo taken at Palm Beach on Christmas Day, and it was signed by Jacqueline and John. Johnson personally requested for this picture while sitting at his office desk, as he signed his swearing-in picture taken by the photographer earlier. This historic collection is estimated to be worth $75,000. Take a look at these spectacular ceremonial weapons from India. They belong to the guest father from his collection.
He started to collect when he was in his 20s and has been collecting ever since. There is around about 500 pieces in his collection.
He bought these weapons around the 1980s to 1990s. This one is really unique and called bichua, which translates to scorpion sting.
Because of the shape of the blade.
The bronze groove tells a story.
He was married to Shiva, the Hindu god Shiva.
Take a close look at the delicate details marked out on the groove. Here we have a katar, which is a classical Indian weapon. It's 17th century, maybe late 16th century, and is decorated with a shell guard. A really unique collection like this at auction would go for
£70,000 to £80,000, and that's
Wow.
being conservative.
Great, lovely, thank you very much.
The granddaughter of an Italian actress, Dolly Gray, came with a portrait of her that was made by Tade Styka, a Polish painter argued to be one of the greatest portrait artists that has ever lived.
I just fell in love with this painting as soon as I saw it.
Dolly's painting is an oil-on-board canvas that was made in the mid-20th century.
I would feel very comfortable putting an auction estimate of $12,000 to $18,000 on the painting.
Okay.
This collection was handed down to the guest from his parents.
We're in Iran in the early 1930s, and the White Russians brought this stuff with them as their only means of currency.
The Iranians are generally very attracted to this Russian cloisonné enamel. It's very brightly colored and is similar to their tradition of enameling. Its work is from the 17th century. They are spectacularly beautiful samples.
This one would appeal to collectors enormously, actually, because it's a cigarette lighter, and I think one possibly doesn't really think of these being possibly 20th century objects, really made possibly in 1910, 1915.
This one is a match case that would hold matches. There is also a napkin ring, salts, and a spoon. This work is by one of the greatest masters of Russian cloisonné enameling.
It was a man called Semenov, and I think from the quality of this work that we're going to find that this is by him.
They are actually very valuable, and at auction would go for
$800 for the lighter. Everybody would be thrilled to find that. Another $800 for the kovsh. Let's say $3,500 for the whole group.
Really? Much as that?
Our guest today is someone you might call a space collector. This is the fallen astronaut, which is the only work of art on the moon. The guest saw it on sale online and bid on it, and that's how it got to be his. It was made by none other than Paul van Hooijdonk. This unique piece has three relatives.
One on the moon. Well, technically there were four. One to the moon, one with Van Hooijdonk owns one himself, the gallery, and that one. And that one.
Space memorabilia is a booming market, and as such, the price is hard to predict. The value is potentially huge, but absolutely unprovable until it's sold.
And whether we're talking $1,000 or $50,000, I haven't a clue. And I'd rather be honest. Okay.
We have an incredibly rare script from Doctor Who and the Tribe of Gum. The guest got it from his grandfather when he was about 8 years old. The script is actually fantastic, with the blue pencil to show when Doctor Who speaks. William Hartnell was the first Doctor Who. This isn't any old Doctor Who story. This is the script of the very first story.
DNA of Doctor Who is the genesis of the program.
It was made in 1963. Another very important thing is
Doctor Who, as we all know, has an enormous fan following. It really does. And there are fans who would give their eye teeth for something like that.
It's the original thing, and at auction it would fetch
£5,000 and £7,000. Hi.
One of the greatest inventions of the late 19th century is the lantern slide. And this is a box of slides that tells us a story.
It was a story about a farm that had been set up as an educational facility for young lads
and it looks like the young lads were destitutes taken from Glasgow.
In one of the slides, the boys are on board a ship going to Canada. This is what the appraiser has to say about this.
And between 1869 and the 1920s, we exported 100,000 children to Canada.
When asked if he knew the whereabouts of the children in the slides, the guest said, "At auction, this box is worth..."
It would be less than £100.
Well, that's what it's worth.
This is a really unique antique item. It's a finger exerciser, which is pretty rare. It's probably for people with arthritis and the like. This machine is medical rather than musical for exercising your fingers. It's extremely rare, and as such, putting a value on it would be extremely difficult. However, at auction,
would probably fetch 150, maybe £200 on a good day. Yeah, because it's very unusual. Can I have another quick go? Oh, thank you.
We have this quite unusual chessboard with stones and shells made by Derek Jarman. Derek Jarman is a true polymath, a film director, theater designer, gardener, writer, author, and gay rights activist. The guest bought this piece at a charity auction in London.
Terence Higgins Trust, who had the charity auction for London Lighthouse Hospice.
On the back, we have Jarman's signature and the dice from Sebastiani. Actually, there are only two parts of this composition.
In some ways, they're a film prop because they were used in the film. So here's a film prop amidst what I think actually is an artwork.
This piece just shows how creative Jarman really is. At auction, this piece would sell for
somewhere in the region of £3,000.
Well, that sounds good to me.
Take a look at the ever-famous Scottish Cup. This piece has a particular potency because of one player.
The player in question was Andrew Watson, who is little known, I think still largely, but is the world's first black international football player. He was an absolute superstar within the emerging game in the 1870s and 1880s, and he won this magnificent trophy no less than 3 times.
There is Andrew at the back with his teammates and this cup. Let's hear more about this cup.
This is our crown jewels, the Scottish Cup. Yeah. It's the oldest trophy worldwide for the Code of Association Football, so we're very grateful to have it. And it's only, apart from today, it only leaves the museum once every year, and that's in Cup final day.
The trophy is still working, even if it's for a short period of time. Dents on the trophy are a result of manhandling by players who have won the trophy. To put a value on this, at auction,
around £1 million.
That's quite a sum, obviously. For us, we're very privileged just to look after it. Just thank you very much for it.
The guest came with the Guilford Limner folk portraits. He received them from his parents when they passed away in 1959. Once we took these out of the frames and started looking at the way they were done, it's realized who the artist was. And this artist is the Guilford Limner. Limner came from Guilford County. That is all from the 1820s. He was an itinerant artist. It would have made perfect sense that he would have gone to wealthy people's homes and done portraits. The characteristic of his work are these very striking faces. He did a combination of watercolor and, I think, gouache, and maybe even a little bit of pastel. Not many of these portraits exist. Very few of them have ever been on the market. At auction, an estimate for these portraits would be around $20,000 to $25,000.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Next up is Diego Rivera's oil painting. Diego is a Mexican painter, known for his mural paintings. He made several fascinating paintings. He did this painting when he was 18 years old and named it El Ibaño. The beautiful work of art was done using oil canvas. The work earned Diego a medal and a grant when it was pitched during a student art competition in the early 90s. Diego's early signature can be seen at the bottom of the painting. It was acquired by the owner's grandparents and has been in the family for over 80 years. This original and historic piece is worth over $1.2 million in the retail market.
I'm really scared to carry it around at this point, you know.
The guest brought a book that originally belonged to her grandfather. The book title was East of Eden, and the guest's daughter, who had to read the book for school, found John Steinbeck's signature on it. Additionally, the book contained notes from the daughter's reading. The item was estimated to be worth $1,000 to $1,200. Let's take a look at this brown diamond brooch. When asked about the stones on the brooch, the guest said,
"Well, I was told it was a brown diamond."
Which is correct. The brooch contains both white and brown diamonds. This makes it incredibly unique because you don't see colored diamonds often. It belonged to the guest's aunt, who had the same name as her. Here's what the appraiser has to say about this glamorous item.
About diamonds is that the white diamonds is what people really want. Blue-white diamonds even better.
The cutting of the diamond is a late 19th century, early 20th century cut, and was put into this brooch later on. It was probably also used as a shawl pin in the 1900s. As for its price at auction, it would go for
£2,500.
Right. That's
Surprise?
Super. That's super.
Such an imposing sculpture it is. The sculpture is by Thomas Stewart Burnett, signed at the back. This piece is unique and rare because you don't see many 19th century bronzes of black people. A very beautiful thing about this piece is how the material looks a lot like the skin of black people.
I love the way he's elevated it. It's on a socle that's integral to the sculpture. Often it would be on a marble socle or something.
The sculpture is very detailed with attention to his hair and neck. It's also very realistic. This piece is actually really rare, and at auction would fetch
£10,000 to £12,000.
Really? Really?
We're presented with vintage furniture that has gone out of vogue. The furniture, a writing armchair, was passed down to the guest.
This is sort of a late example of a form that we call a writing arm Windsor chair.
Made in Pennsylvania, this chair features classical motifs. The chair's date of craftsmanship can be set to circa 1835. Quite different from typical chairs, this chair has a drawer made from a different secondary wood than the actual chair.
Poplar, which is a wood that's indigenous to Pennsylvania and often used there.
The designs on the chair are its original ones from its craftsmanship, and it has multiple drawers positioned in different places on it. The historical significance of this armchair, exhibiting the classical features of this iconic furniture style, would make it worth
Came up with a value of, let's say for auction purposes, somewhere around $1,500.
Wow.
This guest inherited this magnificent artifact from a cousin.
I inherited it about 14 years ago from a cousin who had been in the Women's Army Corps during World War II.
It's a lithograph of a cat created by Théophile Alexandre Steinlen. Steinlen was a Swiss-born French Art Nouveau painter and printmaker, renowned for his many works featuring cats, which he had a great affection for, as seen in numerous paintings. This print, made in 1909, is the Summer Cat counterpart to another piece titled Winter Cat. Clearly bearing the artist's signature and monogram, this painting is unique. However, without its accompanying piece, it is only valued at.
If I had to put a replacement value or a retail value on this, I would say it's around $10,000 to $12,000. So you're at the top end of the Steinlen cat print market.
I'm stunned.
An incredible collection from the legendary surfer and wrestler Ron Drummond was brought to the show by the guest, who is his great-nephew. The items include a picture of this legend surfing.
Yeah, I think the impetus for him was to educate people and to get them actively interested in the ocean.
And another picture of him as a wrestler with his stage name, Whisker Blakes. Interestingly, this collection features his book titled The Art of Wave Riding, which is an incredible find for people in the surfing world. This particular book usually doesn't show up in good condition, but this item here is a personal copy of Ron Drummond. This makes it special, and at auction, together with the associated photographs and archival material from the family, it has a price value of
would have an auction value of sort of $6,000 to $8,000 as a group. So it's a phenomenal collection and an amazing thing to see here in the beach in San Diego.
Thank you. Never gonna sell it.
Okay, good.
I'm holding on to it.
Artifacts was inherited by this guest from her great aunt.
As far as I know, it's an 1896 salesman's model of a case agitator thrashing machine.
It is a complete flapper ensemble consisting of a pair of green leather gloves, a mesh bag with beautiful colored enamel over metal, a pair of shoes made from kid leather with an elegant black design, a silk dress with a simple but elegant design of American origin.
The great thresher machine makers, they started off obviously much smaller scale than this, and this was sort of the ultimate thresher. So the bundles go in here, and the trains pull them up, and this mechanism cuts the strings.
A necklace made of jet beads and a cloche hat with a French couture look. This ensemble is quite wonderful, featuring a geometric pattern. Its market value should be estimated at
Auction value would be somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000.
Appreciate that.
There are many stories about World War I, but having a personal narrative of it is often more enlightening. This item, brought in by the guest, is an archive of a soldier who had been part of the war. The soldier, who was a pilot in the Air Force, was named Joe McClinton.
First of all, let's point out a few of the things that you have here.
Okay.
This is 2-volume diary.
Yes.
Joe was a photo reconnaissance pilot during World War I, taking pictures during the war, along with detailing information about his daily life, which are recorded in this journal. There is also a letter Joe had written to his family detailing his journey during the war.
And I found it fascinating looking at the sections, reading about how they were flying, what they were flying.
Telling us about the life Joe and other valiant soldiers who fought for freedom during the war. This archive is a collection of a valiant soldier's experiences, and with its historical significance, it would be valued at
is probably in the $5,000 to $7,000 on a $10 investment.
Yes, I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. I'm on red face right now. I appreciate it.
The French are known to be masters in creating designer clothes, but this Fagoral clock reaffirms their creativity in other crafts too. This clock is a work of art possessing a golden dial. Even though the features are important, what's most astonishing about this clock is not the dial or its features.
So I believe this was a French clock that was marketed by them. Now, clocks of this style were very popular in the 1870s and 80s, and they're very common.
But its retailer, which existed for over 200 years.
This firm has an excellent history. They were formed in 1751, and they advertised that they made the finest clocks and watches of the day.
Clocks such as this one were popular during the late 19th century.
In this instance, I don't believe that's true because this clock dates from the 1870s or 80s.
Nevertheless, this type is unique in that it's much higher quality than other antique clocks. The detail on this clock is spectacular, and at auction today, it would be worth
retail gallery. I could easily see it priced at $5,000 to $7,000.
Cool. I'm happy with that.
This guest's father was a lover of bronze sculptures, and after extensive negotiations, acquired this piece from an antique store, which was then passed down to this guest. This is a bronze sculpture depicting an archer. The sculpture originates from Japan, and like almost all Japanese sculptures and artifacts, it bears the signature of its maker, who wasn't a renowned artist of the period.
Now, Hidemitsu is not one of the major makers, so there's not a lot of information out there. Nevertheless, it's a terrific piece. Now, 1892 is an interesting time frame.
Dating back to the late 19th century, around the 1890s, this piece is in excellent condition. The sculpture showcases a typical Japanese warrior. Given its quality and artistry, its value is estimated at
I would insure this for around $15,000.
Oh my.
Don't look away because of the nudity of the statue. Contrary to what you're thinking, this statue is a piece of art and was created by Demeter Chipara, and the statue is called Invocation.
Well, it's a wonderful little piece. It's by the artist Dimitri.
One of the first features you can notice is how the statue is in top condition.
This piece happens to be gilded.
Plus how it shines, which insinuates the quality of the material used to craft it. The brown shine insinuates that it was made from bronze. An appealing feature also is the attention to detail used in creating the masterpiece. Due to its nude nature, one might think it won't auction at a lot. Yet it's worth.
I feel it's worth between $4,000 and $5,000 is my opinion.
Oh my word. You must be kidding.
This guest's parents were astute collectors of art, and they acquired this piece from an antique store in Manhattan.
When he would see an interesting piece of jewelry for my mom, he would buy it.
Where did he find this piece?
And he found it at a shop in Manhattan, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Along with the jewelry collection is the manuscript. The letter is dated around 1912 and claims the origin of the pieces to be Canton, China, and dates their production to the early 19th century. However, the contents of the letter are incorrect.
The letter is interesting, the pieces are very interesting, but the letter is wrong. So the gentleman who wrote that had a good story, but he did not know.
As the material used to make the jewelry is filigree gold from Italy. Made from approximately 22 carats of gold, the work on the bracelet is extremely fine. The necklace, on the other hand, features stones made from lava.
That are surround this are made from lava. Each one of these pieces is basically God or a famous person.
These pieces are about 2 centuries old, in excellent condition, and at auction are valued at
A good day, yes, it could bring $6,000.
Wow.
What we are looking at here is a piece of a firearm used in the Second World War. This guest's dad brought it back from Germany after the war.
I got it from my dad. He brought it back from Germany or Austria when he was in World War II and brought it back home.
Along with the gun is a manuscript, a certification from his superior officer giving him permission to take the firearm as a trophy of war.
But in this particular instance, you actually have a piece of paper signed by his commanding officer saying that it was okay.
Yeah, he told us that showed that it was okay for him to bring it back.
This firearm is a German over-under pistol with one barrel over the other. It was made in the mid-18th century, originally with a flintlock mechanism, and was later converted to a more modern ignition system called the percussion system. There were mechanisms put in place for the barrel of the gun to accommodate more than one shot.
And how they achieved that here was, if you cock the hammer back, there's a little release here, and the barrels turn over.
The name of the maker is inscribed under the barrel. Despite the conversion of the original mechanism, the pistol is in excellent condition, and in a retail setting will sell for.
At auction, I would figure it would sell for about $2,000 to $4,000.
Really?
Yeah. If it was original flintlock, it would be at least double that.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness.
No, this is not Aladdin's rug, even though the rug is from Iran, which is modern-day Persia. It incorporates the Iranian beauty and creativity to give it an Aladdin look.
I would say that it was made somewhere in the 60s, so it was probably a new rug when it was given to your in-laws.
What's interesting about this particular rug is that it is widely popular.
Well, the rug is a Persian rug. It was made in Iran, and it's called an Isfahan.
And it was made in the 60s, at a time when rugs such as this were in wild demand. The rug is finely woven to show the expertise of the Iranians.
The Middle Eastern market is buying these back.
The rug is called a Saraphian Isfahan to depict where it was made from. As a representation of Iran's creative expertise, this rug would auction today at.
This collector would pay $15,000 for this rug.
Well, my mother-in-law would be very happy to know that. She was always very proud of it.
We are all nerds at heart, and what's more nerdy than having Pokemon cards? This set of Pokemon cards was bought online for the guest by her mom.
Now you might wonder where the name Pokemon actually comes from. That is an abbreviation of the name for the game in Japan, which was Pocket Monsters.
And it's the first 102 cards that were released in the Pokemon game. Wizards of the Coast were the publishers of these cards, which were produced in 1999. Another set includes the 16 original holographic cards, which are grouped into first edition or shadowless cards and unlimited cards, with the famous Pokemon character Mewtwo cards being an example.
And this Mewtwo has a dark border, while on this side you'll notice it's lighter.
Although the Pokemon market is extremely volatile, these are some great holographic cards and general Pokemon cards that would be worth.
We would say that your binder would be in the $5,000 to $10,000 range.
Wow, much more than I was expecting.
Okay.
The guest brought in a picture of Lookout Mountain that came from her husband's grandmother's family. It was identified as an original large folio Currier and Ives print. Currier and Ives was a prolific printmaking firm based in New York City, operating from 1835 to 1907. The company became famous for producing affordable hand-printed lithographs. The particular print was considered valuable due to its excellent depiction of Lookout Mountain. The remarkable American landscape featured a train, making it more desirable to collectors. Additionally, the print's well-preserved colors added to its value. The appraiser recommended having the spots on the print cleaned. After this restoration, the print's value could increase to about
So then it would be worth about $6,000 to $6,500.
Okay.
That would also help preserve it.
Okay, great. Thank
It's
you.
a great thing.
The guest came with May Timberlake Roseville tankard. He inherited it about 5 years ago from his father and brought it home and gave it to his wife, and she fell in love with it. This piece has the artist's name under the handle. It's signed M. Timberlake. Artist May Timberlake was a very, very fine decorator. She worked at Weller for a while. She also worked at Roseville. This piece is from Roseville. It's a classic Roseville tankard shape. Roseville made a number of these presentation pieces for the Hunter Arms Company. At auction, a piece like this would probably sell for $1,000 to $1,500.
Wow. Glad your wife had the hunch. I am too. Yeah, I am too.
today's episode, we feature items from an American celebrity, Carla Hall. Hall is an American chef, television personality, and former model. All brought to the show is a collection of her grandmother's bags, which was passed down to her.
With the pearl F on the center. These are all hand-stitched, and then it's hand outlined in gold bugle beads.
Among these bags is one with a handcrafted F, with floral motifs etched on its center with gold bugle beads, which was made by a company called Patricia, based in Miami. Another one of the bags is from the 1950s or 60s and was made by Sydney of California. The last bag, which is the oldest of the group, was made in Havana in the 1940s and is the most unique looking as it has an alligator design made on it.
People either really, really love them.
Collectively, these bags are all unique with their different styles and makes, but at auction would be valued individually at
a retail sale in that you have to find another person who's got an F initial. And then this one is in the $300 to $350 range.
This distinctive piece is a furniture set called Malit, produced by Knoll International in 1968. Knoll International is a very famous American company that manufactures office systems, seating, storage systems, tables, desks, textiles, and accessories for the home, office, and higher education. The guest's mother had studied architecture and was familiar with the designer, so when she saw it in a classified ad in the Detroit News, she bought it immediately. The stains and wear and tear indicated that it had been well used. The appraiser revealed that this furniture set was designed by Roberto Mata, the renowned Chilean artist. This piece was not only furniture, but could also be used as a sculpture, with a similar seating system showcased in the Philadelphia Museum of Art. There were a few stains, rips, and discolorations on the set. Due to the current condition of the piece, the appraiser estimated the price of this piece to be,
unfortunately, in this condition, with the staining, for about half of that, about $1,200 to $1,500. But of course, you're going to keep it forever, I hope.
The guest acquired this magnificent painting at a garage sale for only $50. The appraiser identified it as an original, unstretched oil painting created on linen canvas. When the guest purchased it, the painting was folded and had a few wrinkles. The signature at the bottom of the painting revealed that it was a work by the renowned painter Buck McCain. Buck McCain was a self-taught artist who briefly studied art in Switzerland for about a year before returning to the West and focusing on painting Western themes. However, this piece was different from his traditional work as it was used as an illustration in a book. The appraiser suggested that since the artist was still alive, he could provide better insight into his work. Praising the remarkable condition of this painting, the appraiser estimated its value at,
I think at auction today, we would probably value your painting by Buck McCain at $2,500 to $4,000.
Wow, that's great.
A look at this painting can transport one to the rocky shores depicted in it. This absolutely stunning work of art was done by Edward Henry Potthast. Potthast was an American Impressionist painter known for his paintings of the beaches of New York and New England.
He was known for really capturing the light of outdoor scenes.
This painting carries the original artist label, which states "The Coast, Agunquit," along with Potthast's signature to show its authenticity. This painting shows a broad, expansive view of the beach and features a vibrant and varied color palette, where bright, saturated colors are used to depict the sun and the beach.
The condition of the painting, oil on board, is completely original.
This painting captivates a depiction of the beach characterized by the use of vibrant colors and would be auctioned at.
I'm going to value the painting at $25,000.
Wow.
We are presented with a dower chest on today's show. The guest purchased it at a thrift store after falling in love with it.
$1,000 on it.
Wow.
So that's quite a find.
Wow.
Meticulously handcrafted from the finest materials, Stieff beers brought in today by this guest are of impeccable quality. Made by the German-based plush toy company founded in 1880, these beers are early Stieff beers and were made in the early 20th century.
Some of the features here, the nose in particular, is made of sealing wax, and Stieff did this about the turn of the century.
The beers have leather-covered shoe buttons as their eyes, and just a look at them tells a story of the creativity and passion put into their making.
You can see the stitching on the pads here, and that's a light brown stitching, and the interior would be stuffed with wood shavings, what is called excelsior.
Along with the beers is an X-ray that shows their interior. These beers from the company that claims to have made the world's first factory-made teddy bear are sure to be in high demand and be worth
in upwards of $20,000.
That's
which
great.
Is really nice.
That's great.
Guest brought these musical instruments, which had belonged to his great-grandfather, a musician who performed in silent movie theaters. He specialized in sound effects and used to play all these instruments. This entire trunk was filled with his professional music tools. The guest demonstrated how these fascinating instruments create the sounds of horses, train whistles, and birds. This particular tool was a wooden slide whistle used to create intriguing sounds. The appraiser praised all these high-quality tools, including gizmos, bells, whistles, and mallets. To the guest's amazement, the appraiser estimated this interesting collection at
I've talked to a couple of my friends and colleagues. I think this is probably somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000 in value.
Wow.
We are presented with a set of vintage pottery. These pieces aren't just aesthetically pleasing, they exemplify culture and heritage. As a family heirloom, it has been in the guest family for generations. This beautiful set is North Carolina pottery, crafted by Walter Stephen. Stephen was an American potter, best known for his unique line of functional pottery featuring painted layers of porcelain on stoneware. These pieces are dated circa 1950. With their stunning appearance and good condition, they are estimated to be worth,
as a group, somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500.
Guest shared the story of a mirror, originally bought by his maternal grandparents. The appraiser identified the mirror's maker as Line Vautrin, a renowned French jewelry and mirror designer. Vautrin was a family of jewelers and metalworkers initially focused on jewelry before gaining recognition for her mirrors. The particular item features a resin structure with intricate mirror panels, exhibiting great craftsmanship. The fragile piece was likely produced in the early 1960s and was acquired around the same time. They noted Vautrin's work remained relatively unknown until gaining recognition in 1986. The appraiser confirmed the mirror's authenticity by pointing out Vautrin's signature on the back of the panel. Based on current market trends, the appraiser estimated the mirror's auction value at
Beautiful mirror would be $40,000 to $60,000.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
A glance at this chair makes you think it's like every other chair, but it is in fact a very rare type of federal chair. The chair was made in Boston from mahogany wood in the early 19th century.
Looking at the reading, which is classic reading on a federal chair you'd see in Boston, as well as these signature acanthus leaf carvings on the baluster, which are typical of Boston.
Usually, chairs like these degrade or are attacked by termites, but this one in particular shows its quality as it's maintained its longevity. Contrary to what most would think, these chairs were not produced for federal figures. Rather, they were produced during the federal style period, which spanned from 1789 till 1823. Given its rare nature, today this type of side chair would auction at
if they came up at auction, would be estimated at about $1,000 to $1,500.
We have here today a special guest, Marc Brown. Brown is an American author and illustrator of children's books.
If I'm working on something I really love, I forget to have lunch.
The appraiser talks to the author about his works and how much they would be valued at auction. Most of his works were inspired by people in his life, and having written over 130 books and 80 author books, Brown is a phenomenal author. At auction, the earlier works of Brown, because they showed his developmental process, would fetch a value of
I'm really interested to talk with Colleen about what its value is.
And his later collections, the mid-ranges, are harder to discuss due to their vastness. Regardless, at auction, these would fetch a value of
I used to get in trouble.
Lastly, the best works of the author. An example is a piece called Author's Christmas, featuring a beautiful watercolor, is estimated to be worth
well over 1,000 for sure. More than thousands. How do I find a value? I know there'll be gradations of things and what they're worth, but what is a good starting point?
Today's piece is a fun-looking piece of furniture. It's a well-crafted table that was made circa 1880. The legs of this furniture are quite unique.
The cabinet maker who carved these legs here was really having fun,
as it's a well-crafted depiction of a dog chasing a squirrel up a tree. Although we're not able to determine who it was that created the piece, it's an absolute surety that it was a master craftsman. This table is a uniquely carved and aesthetically pleasing piece and would be worth
we would probably say at auction it would be worth between $5,000 and $8,000. Okay, that's wonderful.
The ancient civilization of Egypt. That's where the origination of this piece can be traced to. The piece is a funeral piece, commonly called a Ushabti figure.
And they were placed in the tomb with grave goods as a substitute for the deceased.
This figure is made out of faience, which is a non-clay ceramic. These types of figures were used by the Egyptians from around 500 BC and is from the 26th dynasty of the Egyptian kingdom. The figure has a triangular base and a tripartite wig typical of Egyptian figures.
It has a pick and a hoe either side, all very typical, very common.
On the piece are hieroglyphic texts, which are taken from the 6th chapter of the Book of the Dead. This is a fine piece of early Egyptian works, with early hieroglyphic texts, and is highly valuable and worth
conservative retail price for this would be between $6,000 and $8,000.
Okay. That's nice. That's nice. That's very nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
A fine piece of a miniature folk portrait is brought to the show. This portrait was acquired by this guest at an antique shop. A very well-made portrait, it was painted on ivory and is a portrait of a child, which is often desired by collectors. The artist who made this portrait is unknown, but a piece like this is thought to be from New England and done circa 1830. The case in which the portrait is kept is leather with mother-of-pearl and gilt embossing on it.
That's probably 25 years or so later than when the portrait was actually painted.
While the portrait is well done with captivating colors.
Well,
Petticoat.
the little petticoat,
Yeah.
one barefoot and one shoe foot.
You know the thing that got me though? It was the look in the baby's eyes.
This is a fine miniature portrait with captivating artistry, and at auction, it would be worth
This would be worth retail $12,000 to $15,000.
You are fooling me.
We are presented with a fine collection of jewelry in this episode. These pieces of jewelry were passed down to this guest by her mother. Well-made, sculptural, and unique, the jewelries were crafted by Karen Margaret Johnson.
There's not much information about her, but she fits in with a lot of other artists during that period.
And are made with brass, all handcrafted. Some of the jewelry incorporates beadwork, which is often seen in the 1970s jewelry, as it adds a dimension to its design. Each jewelry features bold and funky styles that capture the unique fashion trends of the 1970s.
It's wonderful jewelry. I love the 1970s sculptural, really interesting pieces.
With unconventional shapes that make each one stand out as a distinctive statement accessory. This collection of jewelry captures hearts with its unique designs and shapes, and individually, each piece would be worth,
a similar category as this set. So I would say, again, $1,000 to $1,500.
Mascots are a very important part of business, ranging from sports teams to clothing brands. Today's piece is the mascot display of the Hush Puppies Company. Hush Puppies is an American brand of casual footwear, and they use a basset hound named Jason as their logo. This display features Jason sitting in a friendly pose, creating an inviting visual presence, and serves as a memorable part of the customer's interaction with the brand. What do you think this piece from one of America's top footwear companies would be valued at?
And I said, how much is that dog in the window? And they said $50, and I said sold.
Guest brought a guitar to the show, which he acquired via an exchange trade with another guitar owner. This guitar is a Mosrite prototype guitar.
Strictly a prototype. This is all hollow. He called it the guitar with a built-in soul.
And the name Mosrite is a mix of its makers Semi Mosley and Ray Boatwright's names.
Mosley and Boatwright. That's where they came up with the name, Mosrite.
This Mosrite guitar isn't a standard typical one, as its back is a metal back that's screwed on. Along with the guitar is a photograph of the guitar's inside, with Mosley's signature in it. This guitar is an innovative musical instrument, and at auction would go for
Retail $15,000, maybe more.